Hello everyone, I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting with me today. YouTube has been rude as hell these past couple of days. Whose Wheaties did I pee in? It's okay. It's okay. It's to be expected around here, but it was getting a little extra toxic there for a few minutes. So I was watching Becca Scoops, the timeline video, and there were some clips that I wanted to comment on. Now, I will provide the link in the About section to the video, so if you haven't already, please give the video a watch. That channel makes really good content, really great Gypsy Rose content, really informative. So I wanted to touch on some points just to give my opinion and my thoughts. Everyone has the right to disagree, but everyone does not have the right to disrespect. So please, respectfully, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Be kind to each other when replying, when responding to one another. And it really grinds my gears when I see a really great, well thought out comment and some little prick has to ruin it with their stupid trolley reply. So, just be nice and intelligent. I appreciate you. I love you. Let's get started.
It appeared as if no one grieved the death of Dee Dee Blanchard. She was villainized by Gypsy Rose Blanchard's defense team. She was villainized by her own family. She was villainized in every documentary made about the case. The winners write the history books.
So Dee Dee was villainized. We don't know who she was. We know Dee Dee was a con artist. We do know that. And although other people did look past that, I can't. The woman was no angel. In some people's eyes, she may have been a good mom to Gypsy, but when she chose to continue to be a con artist after her daughter was born, she, in my opinion, chose her destiny. And the people that knew she was a con artist should have reported her. They should have done something. They should have tried to do something because, she was essentially stealing from actual sick children that actually had needs. And in the long run, reporting her could have actually saved her life. And it is my opinion that if you know of something like this and you don't do something to stop it, or at least try, you're just as guilty. And no, I'm not saying Dee Dee deserved what happened to her. I don't believe that at all. But I'm just saying, when you choose to live a certain way, you can't be surprised when certain things happen. I do have one of a few theories, and one of them is that Gypsy and Dee Dee weren't going to be able to continue pulling off this con forever. Gypsy was getting too old, and Gypsy, it seems, wanted out. Probably to start a different con. But she was going to be in as much trouble as Dee Dee, or at least almost as much trouble for the con they've been pulling for years. Plus, there was the money. She wanted to take that money. It's easier to steal from a dead person.
Hours after her death, Borderline, who was a friend from Dee Dee's years in Louisiana, recalled her as a gentle person who helped her through rough times. She was very kind, especially with kids, Sue said. She added that Dee Dee was very generous and masterful at getting all the kids free tickets to events. Sue recalled their friendship of games, movies, shows, pizza nights, and other activities. We overlooked the con stuff, Sue said. I'm not judging, just stating fact.
So Dee Dee's friend, Sue Bordelon, said that Dee Dee was a kind, gentle person. And I'm sure she was. She's going to put her best foot forward, be on her best behavior, so people see a kind, gentle person. So people will be more likely to like that person. That's part of being a con artist, to get people to like you. Sue said she looked past the con stuff. It's hard as a poor person to get help. You do what you got to do. No. What Dee Dee did was greed. It was out of greed. It sure was. Eric and I are doing very well now. But when our son actually had cancer, we were poor. We never conned anyone. And we found ourselves in some pretty desperate situations. We did what we had to do, but we didn't break the law. We didn't break any laws. And we raised our child to be honest. And you can't be a con person and do that. I don't think a con artist can be a good parent. Again, I'm not saying she deserved to die for the con, but some are out here acting like Dee Dee was Mother Teresa. And that assumption, it needs to be corrected. It needs to be put to bed. Because like I said earlier, she was no angel. And again, I want to stress, I don't think she deserved to die for it. Of course, I don't believe that. But you have to try to be a good person. And if you're conning people, I don't see you as a good person. And, that's just my opinion. But that's how it is. That's how I see things. And this is my video, right? Gypsy was raised by this woman. And that's where she learned to be a con artist in her own right. Call Gypsy a scammer, a grifter, a con artist. But let's not forget 2 things. First, she learned it from Dee Dee. Second, and I just want to get this in here, I know people will think it's a jab, but I don't mean any harm. But it has to be said, some of you out here on these YouTube streets are butt worshiping a grifter because her narrative supports your dislike for Gypsy. But you can actually dislike Gypsy and not support a grifter con artist just because you feel like that person gives your hate life. It gives you permission to hate Gypsy. If you don't like Gypsy, just don't like her. It doesn't mean you have to back someone who is completely irrational and completely insane. I just had to get that out there. According to Sue, most people back home in Louisiana knew about the con. They should have said something. I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but they should have said something, and they didn't, which tells me they all have some shady shit to hide, or they just don't mind someone, breaking the law, being, a nasty con artist.
Close friend and neighbor, Aaliyah Woodmansey.
See, Aaliyah isn't her bully. Remember how in the interrogation on the video, the officer brought up Aaliyah, and she says Aaliyah is her bully? She's her good friend. I still wonder why she said that about Aaliyah. Like, what motivated that? Was she trying to say that to kind of take away any credibility Aaliyah might have? I don't know. I don't get that. I don't get her motivation for saying Aaliyah was her bully.
In October 2012, Gypsy instigates an online relationship with an autistic individual named Nicholas Godejohn. Nick Godejohn isn't a liar. That's the consensus by most viewers after watching his interrogation video. He's just not sophisticated enough to pull off lies. He tells the truth to a fault. Nick talks about how quickly Gypsy pursued him during his interrogation. Within 4 days, Gypsy had him on the hook.
Nicholas isn't a liar. I agree with that. She hooked him. Gypsy hooked him. She tested him out, and she knew she could manipulate him, and she manipulated him to the next level.
We got comfortable to where we, about like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, the way that we clicked, it made it seem like we somehow just knew we were right for each other.
Okay.
So we, like, what was it, 4 days, I would have to say, 4 days later, we started a relationship together. Yeah.
And so your relationship, what kind of relationship was that you guys started?
It was one of those committed ones.
Okay.
Good manipulators are able to quickly zero in on what makes a person tick. Gypsy mirrored Nick back to himself, making him believe they were meant to be together.
It really irritates me that it's clear that Nicholas has a disability, and that cop should have convinced him to get an attorney. Maybe that's not the way they do things in reality, but it's just, I think, what a decent person should have done, you know?
Between 2012 to 2014, Gypsy continues to flirt with other men online. However, According to sources close to the case, she has no luck at getting any of these men to take her seriously except to engage with her sexually online. We do know that by May 2014, Gypsy introduces Nick to this narrative that her mom is an obstacle, that Dee Dee will never let them be together.
She knew how to work men. Or, no, she thought she did. She thought she knew how to work men. You know, she didn't have the kind of mojo she needs to get men to just do things for her. That takes a special kind of mojo. I used to know someone like that. She had great mojo. She could have told a guy to jump off the highest bridge in Jacksonville, and he would have been like, yeah, yes, ma'am, I'll do it right away, you know? Anyway, most of the older men she tried to talk to were probably married, you know, just being dogs online. But she went from being a con artist with her mom to prison. So she learned how to be a better criminal, a better manipulator in prison. She toyed with men while in prison. Hi, Ryan. She said she had at one time 250 people writing to her. Not every single one was necessarily a man, but I'm sure a lot of them were, and she could have gotten her hooks in a lot more than the couple that she did. You know, but she did get her hooks in some. I have always wondered, and I've never voiced it before, but I'll voice it now. And this answer may be somewhere on the internet, but you know, who took this picture of them where she's clearly dressed like, it looks like Cinderella to me, so it leads me to believe this is from the outing to see Cinderella. Who took this picture? Was her mom, that was supposedly so disgusted by Nicholas, the one that took it? Because they both look very happy in this picture, so I'm just curious about that. Alan Brake. He's purring.
In fact, one anonymous source who was interviewed just days after the murder told authorities a couple of years before she met Nick Godejohn, Gypsy was quite active on Facebook, where she propositioned older men in their 30s and 40s. These older men were part of a group in Springfield, Missouri that attended cosplay sci-fi conventions. The source revealed, quote, Gypsy hit on other men in the group via Facebook, men in their 30s and 40s.
So why was she searching for men? Was she searching for them to escape, or was she just looking for men to sleep with? What did she want from these men? Did she already know she wanted someone to unalive her mom? These are just some wonderings of mine that, you know, have been going through my mind.
We do know that by May 2014, Gypsy introduces Nick to this narrative that her mom is an obstacle, that Dee Dee will never let them be together. According to those close to the case, Gypsy talks to Nick about a few ideas she has. One was to get pregnant. Then, if all else fails, Dee Dee would have to go.
So I wanted to talk about her desire to get pregnant. I just wonder if she did any planning for that. Did she know when she would be fertile, and you know what made her think of pregnancy? A pregnancy would be the right move. I don't understand what she was trying to accomplish as far as the pregnancy idea goes. And you know, what did she plan on doing with the baby? I mean, imagine trying to raise a baby with Nicholas. No offense. I'm sorry. No offense. But from where I sit, it doesn't look like Nicholas was in the position to be a father. Or was it part of her manipulation? Like, she didn't really plan on getting pregnant. She was just kind of using that as part of the, oh, I'm so in love with you, I want to have your baby. And, you know, Gypsy in no way understood the responsibility a baby brings on. And if that did happen, maybe Dee Dee, if Dee Dee was the monster that Gypsy wants us all to believe she was, Dee Dee could force her to get an abortion. So I don't know. I don't know where she was going with the whole pregnancy idea. It seems like if she could have just got pregnant, then she could have just left. It just seems like it would have been so much easier to just leave with Nicholas. It just seems easier than unaliving Dee Dee. But she did want Dee Dee's cash too. It's just hard for me to fathom someone would kill their mom over a few $1,000s. And how do you make the jump from let's try to get pregnant to let's just kill her? I just don't understand how you make that jump. You know, how are those the only two possible options? And I'm sorry about Alan being in the frame. I had recorded this bit 100 times and I didn't want to do it again.
Another interesting side note, Nick also admits Dee Dee liked him when she met him. This goes against Gypsy's claim that Dee Dee loathed Mr. Godejohn.
How long ago was that?
That was back in March
Back in March of...
this year.
Oh, okay, so you were in Springfield before.
Yep.
And did her mom know you were here?
No, I got to meet her mom in person for the first time.
And was her mom nice to you, or?
Yeah, she was really nice to me. And
Okay.
But if Dee Dee liked Nick, then the murder would never have to happen, right? Maybe this trip was never about getting Dee Dee's approval, but was truly Gypsy's way of testing a dry run. According to sources close to the case, after she assessed Nick could make it to Missouri, Gypsy became hell-bent on getting rid of her mother.
Dee Dee was, as Nicholas said, really nice to him. So that makes me, tend to agree with Becca Scoops. Maybe it was a dry run.
To be disabled. She was part of the con. The final plan to commit murder begins to form in May 2015. How do we know this? Dee Dee calls the cops to report $1,000 missing from her safe along with some narcotics, Vicodin, and Xanax in May of 2015. Gypsy was the true culprit, stealing the cash to fund Nick's second trip. Gypsy decided her mom's murder would take place in the beginning of June, and the cash was to fund Nick's bus ride and motel stay. However, she would still need to convince him to help her do the deed.
She was okay with stealing the money because she knew in a month's time it wouldn't matter anymore. But yes, she did still have to convince him because Nicholas didn't want to kill Dee Dee. He didn't want to kill anybody. He just wanted to go. He just wanted to take Gypsy and go and run. But Gypsy insisted that, someone unalive Dee Dee, and that someone had to be Nicholas.
From our research, we were able to break down the most important of their text messages. Gypsy appears to utilize a roller coaster technique on Nick that keeps him off balance. Even some people without a disability would be hard-pressed to deflect her manipulations. On May 21st, 2015, law enforcement found that Gypsy created a new Facebook account called Nicholas Bella Rose. This account was set up less than a month before Dee Dee's demise. This Facebook profile was created by Gypsy for solely one purpose. This is where she would finalize her plans about the crime, where she would manipulate Nick to do the deed.
She just wanted you to kill her mom.
Yes.
Okay. And how...
She does use serious manipulation on Nicholas. Love bombing, guilt tripping, passive aggressiveness, triangulation, and coercion to get Nicholas to kill Dee Dee. And I'm still wondering, how did it come down to pregnancy or unaliving someone? I'm just trying to work that out.
The first thing she utilizes is the deviant role-playing talk. On May 31st, Gypsy texts, "I need to tell you a secret, hun." Nick answers, "Go ahead, dear." Gypsy writes, "I never stop sucking Pediasure from a baby bottle." A few minutes later, at 7:33 p.m., Gypsy turns up the heat on Nick, writing, quote, "Darling, I'm 1,000% with the plan," end quote. Nick is utterly confused. He has no idea what she is talking about. "What do you mean, dear?" he asks. It appears they take the conversation to Facebook to that Nicholas Bellerose account, and those records indicate Nicholas wasn't on board with committing the heinous act. The texts resume a few hours later on June 1st at 1:19 a.m. with Gypsy writing, "So you won't end this." To which Nick replies, "I'm not saying anything besides it's a waste of time." That response enrages Gypsy. Quote, "Get your ass back here now," she texts. "As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to rip you a new one." When Nick does not respond to her anger, Gypsy writes, "I didn't mean it when I called life with you trash." Again, this is a relationship roller coaster for poor Mr. Godejohn. Nick responds, "I know, dear, you scared me though. I thought I lost you." To which Gypsy writes, "You almost did." This takes place on June 1st.
The texts are so weird. I guess maybe I need more information to really follow the thread, but we can at least see the manipulative tactics, the charm, coercion, aggression, regression, debasement, and threat of isolation, or even add in the fear of isolation. Though not in every situation, but in many, autistic individuals can be manipulated, particularly by someone they want to please. It is especially easy for those with autism to be manipulated in intimate relationships. But that can really be true for anyone. This does not make them weak. It's a desire to please. This manipulation can include emotional and verbal abuse, and a manipulative person can convince an autistic person to not only commit crimes, but also accept complete responsibility for the crimes. The manipulator can exploit their autistic victim's desire to please, and use the promise of love or friendship to further exploit them. Personally, I feel not only was Nicholas manipulated by Gypsy, but I feel like he was manipulated by everyone involved in the case. Gypsy manipulated him. That detective in the interrogation room manipulated him. The lawyers manipulated him. Both of them, the prosecuting and defense, in my opinion. And then, Gypsy, she manipulated everybody. She absolutely tried to, at least. She manipulated the legal system because her murdering ass should have gotten at least 30 years. In Missouri, a second-degree murder conviction can be 10 to 30 years or life in prison. And, if Nicholas has to serve life in prison, why did they go easy on her? She made it happen. She manipulated and made them feel bad for her. Something she did worked because, she got away with it.
So you didn't bring a knife from here?
No.
So when you got here, she had a knife?
Yeah.
Nick is pretty adamant he only stabbed Dee Dee 4 to 5 times total, which goes against the evidence that shows.
So he did say he only stabbed her 4 times, but he also said he only counted the deep ones. So watch this clip.
Stab her.
And I just was in a random spot in the back.
In the back, just random?
Yes.
Do you know how many times you stabbed her?
4.
You stabbed her 4?
Yeah, 4 times.
Okay.
The 4th one, I felt it go into, I think it might have been her lungs.
Okay.
Because it was harder to get out.
Okay. Did it take one hand to get it out, 2 hands?
I had to yank it out.
Okay.
With one hand.
Okay. So it did. So the others came out easy, but that one kind of came out harder?
Yep.
Okay. And so, you only stabbed her 4 times? Are you sure about that?
Well, as in stabbing, I stabbed her 4 times.
Okay.
But I did actually cut her one other time besides that.
Okay. Where'd you cut her
On
out?
the back of her neck.
Okay. And did you use the same knife that you did the others with?
Yep.
Okay. And when you did across the back of the neck, did that even cause an injury, or did you see any blood or anything?
Yeah, she was bleeding.
Okay, she's bleeding. And so did she scream or holler, or?
Yeah, she did.
What was she saying?
first she said help, and then she didn't recognize who I was. So she said,
Okay.
who are you? And then,
She said, who are you?
yeah.
Okay. And she didn't recognize who you are, and she says help, and then what does she say?
And then she called up for Gypsy, but Gypsy didn't do anything.
Okay. She hollered for Gypsy.
Yes.
And did she holler for Gypsy once, twice, 5 times?
3 times.
3 times? And what was she saying? Can you tell me how she said it?
She pretty much yelped it.
Yelped it?
She was like, Gypsy!
Okay.
Yeah, she was loud.
And what did you do when she did that?
It didn't stop me from keep on going.
Okay. You just kept stabbing her?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any reason that we would think that maybe you stabbed her more than 4 times?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Now, did Gypsy come in and stab her?
No.
Gypsy never stabbed her?
She couldn't do it. That's
Okay.
the reason why she asked me to.
Okay. Did you try to get Gypsy to come in and stab her?
No, I would have never done that.
Okay. So when you say 4 actual stabs, so those are the ones that went in deeper?
Yeah.
Was there some little ones? Or
There might have been, because the truth is I counted the ones that went in deep. I didn't count if there's any other ones.
okay. So if there's any other ones, you just didn't count those because they didn't go in as deep.
Yeah.
We have concluded not only did Gypsy fully brainwash Nick into the crime, there are also indications she went into Dee Dee's room at some point. Gypsy claims she was abused and traumatized by her mother, who she says was medically abusing her. However, in a video from a live TikTok, Gypsy claimed her trauma happened at age 10 and at age 16.
Is that, like, my trauma, like, my most damaging trauma happened when I was, like, 9 or 10. And so that explains why my personality, when I react to something, I don't respond, I react. So when I am reacting to a situation, there is with also that being said, some other traumas happened when I was 16. So when I am reacting to a situation under stress or I feel controlled, that defensive, snarky behavior that wants to clap back, that wants to defend myself, that wants to say something sarcastic, comes out at that time.
Isn't that interesting? So Gypsy is admitting her overall childhood with Dee Dee was not traumatizing, right? If this was truly a Munchausen by proxy case, if Dee Dee was truly medically abusing her, Gypsy would say, my childhood was stolen. And my trauma started when my mom put me in that wheelchair at 6 years old. From all accounts, Gypsy never indicated her childhood was abusive. It was only after her attorneys informed her of that narrative did she adopt it as her own story.
She says her most damage and trauma was at age 10 and at age 16. So I don't know what these specific traumas are. It's not my business. But what she says about her trauma at age 16 kind of sounds like she's trying to explain her snarky, juvenile, bitchy behavior that we've all witnessed. But we already know we can't trust what she says anyway, so.
Gypsy's true motive for killing her mother is difficult to pin down. However, we can say she did not do it over any abuse. She did not do it because she had no way out. She wanted to do it. She wanted her mom gone, and she spent a couple years plotting the evil deed. And Gypsy's plan worked. Dee Dee's gone, and Nick, who should have been the one to get a sweet plea deal, is not only paying for his part in the crime, but is ultimately...
Right, she didn't unalive her mom for a way out. She could have ran. She wanted her mom gone. So please go check out Becca Scoop's entire video. It's very good. Check out the whole series if you haven't. It's great. I do have a video coming out soon where I kind of feel like I relate to Gypsy. It's sort of. So keep an eye out for that. I talk about, my experience with my mother and everything. So, yeah. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.